Welcome to the 66th edition of Pod Universal, India's first and leading pod magazine published by Prime Point Foundation. I am K. Srinivasan, editor of Pod Universal, welcoming you to this show. Presently, the information technology network users in IT and non-IT companies face serious problems of vulnerability. According to the cyber laws, the IT network owners are liable to the users for any data theft or misuse. All the IT network users can strengthen their information security by adopting the latest ISO 27001 certification process. Many of the IT network users do not have sufficient awareness about the threats they face from hackers and their own responsibility to the customers. While Japan has made the ISO 27000 as mandatory, other countries are yet to force the companies to go for ISO 27001. On behalf of Pod Universal, I spoke to Mr. N.R. Krishna Kumar, Director Operations of Norway-based DNV, one of the ISO certifying authorities at global level, about the importance of ISO certification. I started my conversation with him asking him, what is ISO 27001? Please listen to him now.
So DNV is a certifying body, and ISO 27000 is a certification scheme. It's published by the standard is published by the International Standards Organization. And DNV is a certifying body who is accredited by accreditation boards. And there are users of ISO 27000 standards, which are companies who implement these processes. When I say processes, it means the standard has defined certain management controls to be established to ensure that the information security is implemented in a controlled manner. That is the meaning of ISO 27000.
So what are the components in the ISO 27001?
The 27001 talks about certain management approaches, which is about planning, looking at risk management, looking at what kind of information assets have to be protected, and there are also certain controls which it has defined in terms of access control, in terms of authentication. There are quite a few technical controls as well as process controls to be established. And these controls, now the company will have to implement these controls based on a risk assessment which is conducted. So the company will on one side prepare for this implementation of the standard, and auditors from our company will assess them whether they meet these requirements. Certification is normally for a period of 3 years cycle, and the audits are done every 6 months. So it's not a one-time affair. It's a continuous process in which the companies will have to implement and improve upon the information security practices.
If a company wants to have a 27001, what is the thing that they have to do? Whom they have to approach?
There are two approaches. Either they prepare within the company themselves, understanding the knowledge, or they hire a consultant. And the first thing we have to do is to look at the risk assessment, understand what is in the standard. Awareness of the standard is very important. And then the next thing is to implement the risk assessment, do a risk assessment of the information security management system, and then to implement certain practices. So this will involve the involvement of the security group. It involves the various departments in the company to assess what is important and what has to be protected. Then you have to look at the technical aspects, the physical aspects. There are various controls over there. So it's the time frame normally takes about 3 to 6 months to set up the system. And then we come for an audit. The audit takes about 2 to 3 days. About 3 people will come and audit. It depends again on the size of the organization.
How do you feel about the awareness of 27000 at global level and in Asian level?
I think India, barring Japan, there is a regulation, so there is a huge number of certifications in Japan. But barring Japan, in India, around 400 certificates have been issued so far, while Japan is about in the order of 2,000. And worldwide, I think, including Japan, about 5,000 certificates have come in for 27,000. So there's an increasing awareness, and there are many drivers why companies need to adopt this.
Do you think that it is a very, very insignificant when compared to the companies? Is it applicable only for IT companies or non-IT companies also?
No, it is applicable for all companies. Yes, at the moment you can say the number is very insignificant compared to the potential and the companies who need to have this. Certainly this will go up. We expect a steady increase in the certifications. We also increase, the security threats are also multiplying. So there will be more and more regulations which will drive this certification and security practices.
What will happen if a company does not have a 27001? And what are the risks that they are likely to have?
There is no mandated requirement except in Japan where they need to have a certificate, but if they don't have it, they are exposed themselves to a lot of risk. And increasingly, to demonstrate due diligence, many customers will put it in their contracts. The companies must have this standard. So we can see now in Middle East, in Africa, there are more and more inquiries coming in, which means it's not only limited to service providers like India, it is also becoming more and more acceptable or needed in many more countries. So certainly the demand will go up.
What do you think in 5 years from now, the ISO certifications at global level?
You see, if I look back from ISO 9000, if the same question was applicable in 1993, when there were maybe about 70, 80 or 400 in that order. Now we have in India about 50,000 certificates. So I think those kind of numbers are quite realistic in the IT because IT is there in every company. So it could be about in another 5 to 10 years time, maybe 50,000 certificates in India.
So thank you very much for sharing your views in our show, sir.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
That was Mr. N.R. Krishna Kumar, Director of Operations of DNV, one of the global ISO certifying body. How ISO 27001 is connected with vulnerability assessment? I asked Mr. M.L. Srinivasan, CEO of ChennaiNet, a leading vulnerability assessment expert and ISO 27001 auditor. Please listen to him now. Welcome, Mr. M.L. Srinivasan, for this PAD Universal show. What is a vulnerability assessment and ISO 27001?
ISO 27001 advises risk management as the main approach for certification. Risk management consists of identifying vulnerabilities and managing those vulnerabilities. So the software and application that we use today, whether it is operating system or database or web browser, all this software has got vulnerabilities in them which can be exploited by hackers or which may be exploited by malicious software like viruses, worms, Trojan horses, so on and so forth. So assessing these vulnerabilities and applying the necessary patches is part of the risk management framework, is part of the risk management process, which an auditor for an ISO 27001 certification will definitely look into that.
Suppose if a company doesn't do vulnerability assessment, what are the challenges that they may face?
There are three perspectives. One is if you don't do a vulnerability assessment and if you don't update your system from the security perspective, you may face three types of risks. One risk is you might lose money. There may be a monetary loss because your systems may go down, your systems may be compromised. The second kind of loss is because the system is compromised or hacked into, the customer may lose confidence with your company. So you may be having a customer dissatisfaction. One is in terms of delivering the services to the customer or in terms of the reputation of your company. So there may be a customer dissatisfaction or customer loss. Third one is you may also face a legal regulatory compliance issue because in many of the countries, including in India, as per IT Act, it is very important that you need to have a reasonable controls over the protection of your data.
Can you quote some examples of companies which have been affected badly?
In the last few years, we can see increasing number of attacks on the IT networks. These attacks are materializing because most of these computer systems are not protected in the sense that they are having vulnerabilities which are increasingly being exploited. So many financial institutions, including many banks, have suffered such attacks. There are many attacks which are not reported to the public, but internally it is such attacks are being addressed by the organization. Many government sites are defaced and online businesses are affected due to vulnerability exploitation.
What is AWARS? Is it a unique product in the world?
Yeah, AWARS is an automated system for scanning vulnerabilities regularly in your internet-facing IT assets. So the uniqueness of AWARS is being an online software as a service system, you will be able to schedule scans on a regular basis and manage your vulnerabilities more effectively than a manual process. Ours also combines a compliance certification from a third-party certifying agency such as DNV, which will give much more confidence to the stakeholders in terms of managing risk and managing vulnerabilities within the organization.
So what is the suggestion that you give for the listeners who are in the IT and non-IT companies who are having an IT network?
The IT network, at the end of the day, there are two important activities in an IT network from security perspective. Any administrator, any organization has to do. They are called as basically due care or due diligence of managing the IT systems. One is periodically scanning for viruses and vulnerabilities. Second is regularly monitoring the activities in the network for any malicious activities. These are the two important activities any organization should fundamentally have to have baseline protection of IT systems.
Thank you very much for joining our show.
Thank you.
Thank you, listeners. That was Mr. M.L. Srinivasan, a vulnerability assessment expert and ISO auditor. Hope you enjoyed this part show. For more updates, log on to poduniversal.com. Please send in your comments and suggestions to editor@poduniversal.com. This is K. Srinivasan, editor of Pod Universal, signing off from the show. Till we meet next, take care and bye.